Round podcast.
Maybe a little lower than you in class rather than
Yeah.
your own dojo.
Yeah. And, this is also another thing that, martial arts helps you, especially when it comes to self-defense. And like I said, you have your drunk and you have this, but it's also like this. You're walking down the street by yourself. Somebody just had a bad day and they just want to get in a little scuffle. You know what you need to do, right? And then, I also look at it like this. I'm sitting there walking down the street with my 5-year-old. A person comes up, they might have had a bad day, but you know what? I'm going to make sure that my 5-year-old's going to be good, and I'm going to be walking home with her.
Yeah.
But martial arts shows you the difference of levels of things.
Yeah.
Would you say that's correct?
Absolutely. I think, even to the belt process, it's, there's a level, there's a responsibility more as you get higher, to learn more and know more, and also be able to raise that level when you need to, and especially when you have a family, daughters. I got 3 little girls. I'm super thankful that I know martial arts, that I'm a black belt, that I have the self-defense. The same thing, just walking down the road, it allows me to be peaceful in those moments, instead of paranoid, instead of worried. And so I think that's, again, just, man, we talk about karate, martial arts, whatever it is all day. There's just so many benefits, and being able to be an attentive, good parent is one of them, I believe.
Yeah. And it also kind of takes, any kind of thing, fear away. And then we're not talking about, being in a dangerous situation, but, certain fears that you would have, like just anxiety of being in public, anxiety of this, that kind of takes it away. Sorry, people that's watching this, that we kind of went off on a tangent off, but we were, but, I could sit there and talk about the self-defense part of, martial arts all day long, because I love it. That's also one of the reasons when my health was, that I started martial arts. But like almost a week before we go on, people, before we go into the next, because I want to ask you some more about, your teaching and stuff like that. But probably about a week or two before I had that doctor's visit, me and my wife we went to a concert, and all the hotel rooms were sold out except this one little, pretty much looked like the Bates Motel. It was sketchy, and I kept, I couldn't hardly sleep because I was sitting, I have no problem with handling myself, but being, having a disability, things, not that I'm disabled, but I have, physical, elements. And I was sitting there thinking, what if somebody came, a couple people came into the room, would I be able to protect my wife, especially at the size that I was? And yes, I would, but I wanted to sit there and say, you know what, I want to make sure that, I can be able to protect my family more, because I'm not big on, guns and things like that. You can have as many as you want. It's just not my thing. It's just like, I don't like fishing. Oh, well, but, that was one of the biggest things also, that, I wanted to sit there and sharpen my tools that I already had, if that makes sense.
It does. To be honest, I'm glad I know martial arts, because my wife loves the Bates Motel looking places. She's always like, let's go there. It's like, all right, I guess, but she just loves that thing. She wants to, we talk about it all. Well, she talks about it all the time. She's like, we're going to buy a hotel one day. We're going to have our own Bates Motel. Maybe we shouldn't have watched the series. We promise we won't kill nobody. Everybody come check it out. It'll be a great place. Maybe a little creepy, but very safe.
All right, so other people do podcasts and they do it a certain way. I'm sitting there looking at it like this, people, and Josh, and maybe you could kind of see it, if you've watched other podcasts and stuff, that even if you've been on them. I just want to have a conversation with you, just like if me and you was walked into a bar or restaurant, or somewhere, and we just started talking. But we kind of have that common goal already about martial arts, right? So that's, but I just want to have a conversation with people. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
sitting there trying to do a section, yes, I have 3 questions, but I don't want to have a structured
No, it
kind of
makes
thing
sense.
on that.
Yeah, yeah. I
If
like
that
that.
does it.
Conversation is much easier for me. That's kind of how I always look at interviews and stuff like that. Hey, we're just gonna chat.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. So let's get back into your teaching and things like that. So now you're running your own dojo also.
Yep.
You said you're teaching different styles in there.
Yeah. So
You're doing
we broke
karate.
it into my yeah. So yeah, definitely. So we have karate. We affiliate with Bang Muay Thai. So Dwayne Ludwig in Colorado love it. So I'm a brown belt in there. Hopefully test for my black belt soon. And then we have a pretty big MMA team. So we kind of stick on everything. We outsource our jiu-jitsu, but for the most part we do grappling. Pretty full scale. We also have fitness for this every day. So yeah, we kind of do a little bit of everything. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Follow up.
Oh
You-
no, trust me. I just wanted to hear wanted to make sure I know that you karate and the Bang Muay Thai, and what a lot of people might not know, Bang Muay Thai is Boss Ruden's
Yeah,
uh,
inspired.
style,
Yeah,
right?
yes. So Dwayne Ludwig started it. Who learned from Sensei Boss, which is cool. And I get to now. I met Boss because of Karate Combat. Probably one of the coolest dudes you'll ever meet. Best martial artists, best fighters, and man, we're just all around best people I've ever met. So that's been awesome. But yeah, so he taught Dwayne Ludwig. Dwayne Ludwig started the Bang style. It's called Boss Rootin inspired Bang Muay Thai. And so yeah, so I'm right in the lineage, right in Karate Combat. So pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's always cool. Like you sit there and said you're in the lineage, and you're in like the beginning phase of the lineage. And what's funny is the style of karate that I take. Both of my the woman sensei and the one that I have now, they're actually the 3rd generation. Because back in Okinawa and where they learned it from, I think he died in like 66, but he was born in like 1910 or something like that, maybe even, I think maybe like the late 1800s, like right before the 1900s. So they're the 3rd style, the 3rd generation of that, which is kind of interesting, especially for an older style like that. You wouldn't think that they would be the 3rd generation, but it's really cool that, you're, a generation with that style. And Boss is, he's a, interesting guy. He's a great fighter, funny dude. As a matter of fact, I even have one of the action
Oh
boss
yeah, the
action
boss
system.
figures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sister. I got that
You
up
gotta
there.
have.
Yeah,
It's a must have, man.
it's a great thing. One day I hope to have him on the podcast. Wink, wink, Josh. If you ever want to throw,
Yeah.
you know,
I'll put in a good word, man. I like to
uh,
think we're friends now. So I had I remember one little instance. So I was just kind of back. It was after a fight or something like that, and I talked to Boss. Got his number. We had texted a couple times, and so something happened. I didn't have my phone, and he had called for something or another, and I picked up my phone, and I was in the midst of a bunch of friends. I'm like, hold on, guys, sorry, I got a missed call from Boss Rootin real quick. It's just one of the coolest moments in life. Like, yeah, Boss just called me. Give me a minute,
yeah,
guys. I gotta take this. But it was just really cool, to be friends with him. It really is just one of the most genuinely best people I've come across. If you again martial arts, man, Karate Combat's full of them. I've met so many awesome people, and even MMA across, and just being around this community. Of course, you're gonna have your d bags at times, but for the most part, man, I'd say across the board, martial arts is just some of the best community of people that you'll get to come across. We talked about so many different things, fitness, goals, discipline for kids, but also just the community of it itself is worth just jumping in and trying to be around good people. And Boss
it
is
is
one of
a
those guys.
yeah, it is a totally like you said, that community. It's a weird tight knit community that not weird, but it's a community that you can pretty much just fall in wherever,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
especially like karate or jujitsu, things like that. They're like, well, click, click. Oh, you roll, boom. You Muay
Yeah.
Thai, boom.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly
and
right.
that's really cool because, that does give you, it does give you a sense of belonging something, that's
Absolutely.
important in your life, right?
Absolutely, man. I think it's one of our key necessities we need is to belong, and martial arts is a good place to belong. A dojo, family.
Yep. So along with your dojo, so you teach there. It says that you got your Muay Thai, and I see the thing is when I do interviews and stuff, I don't do a whole lot of research on anybody because I
That's
don't
cool.
want to know. I don't want to know answers to the questions that I'm asking. That's boring to me. Like
Yeah,
what
no,
I,
I
I'm going to
understand.
tell you this: when Bruno was on, he was sitting there talking about, yeah, before I went over to karate combat, I, was doing some MMA, and I was like, I asked him, I'm like, oh, so, would you like on an independent circuit and stuff like that? He goes, no, I was in the UFC. I'm like,
Yeah.
sorry, I did not know that.
Yeah,
So
that's
you're
awesome.
doing that, and you're teaching now. Do you help with the MMA, or was MMA ever a part of your background?
Yeah. So, basically, that's where I started full contact in 2009 when I graduated college. It's like a little poster on the wall. I was working. Maybe it was a little bit later, but yeah, that's about right. And then it was just it's kind of itching. I was working at a casino, a little bellman or something, just trying to join in the rat race. And I was like, man, I got to do something. And so there's a poster that said, "You think you're tough? Sign up and to do a MMA fight." And so I signed up before ever training, and then I got to work. And first one went pretty good, but there were some ugly ones early on, and so I got into it, fell in love with MMA. Kind of went all the way through, ended up going pro. I fought pro MMA for quite a bit, fought for Bellator. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so kind of got had a pretty good MMA career, and then to be honest, put it aside to uh, start or to help my gym out. We're kind of struggling, so me and my wife kind of rooted down, and I knew I had to stop kind of training as much, so to keep the gym alive. So did that, kind of put myself aside, and then went into focusing on the gym. A couple of years later, a year and a half later, I get a call about full contact karate. Do you want to do it? And I was like, man, sign me up. So then here we are.
Yeah, and your gym also had a little disaster too with a flood, right?
We did too.
Didn't
So
you?
not yeah, the hurricane. So 2020, Laura hit Lake Charles, basically pretty much wiped out my city. We've rebuilt, back coming back, but yeah, wiped out my gym completely, and it was actually right in the middle of a championship run, to for the world championship in karate combat. So it's kind of a little crazy times. You're living in an RV for a couple months. Me and my family, heck, the whole town. There's no power anywhere, so it's crazy. And now we're back. We got home. We finally managed through the obstacles, and now we just recently, a year now, we bought our own gym, our own space, our own building. So now we've been in it about a year. So growing and building and coming back. So it's
Yeah,
been.
and you also done a lot of help with the community too to give back, didn't you?
I do, man. I pretty much stay in the community. The goal is to serve. That's what, Jesus did. That's what he calls us to do. So I want to love people, want to serve people. So I do, um, you know, I try to do that as much as I can. We have a food pantry, but man, that's what we were doing over the last couple of those 2 months. We came back. A lot of people didn't come back to town. There was no power, running off generators, and so yeah, we're just coming back, tarping houses, helping clear, helping the city, and it's just what just like as a martial art dojo, you all help, you all grow, you all teach, you all do, and if when you live in South Louisiana, just like Florida, you get hit with a
Yep.
hurricane, you get to work, you help out people, you live. To be honest, as rough as it was, and it was, ripped out our community. But man, I love the way people were acting, the way people were coming together. Man, it was really a beautiful time. I think it's tough. We're working all the time in the heat. It's hot. September is hurt. So it was ugly, but man, I just really appreciated how people acted in that time. Everybody had been wiped out. Everybody was humbled. Man, and people were coming together and just helping, and just man, it was a good time to be around people. Even though there wasn't many things. All the McDonald's were ripped out, all the You weren't going nowhere to eat, but there were people cooking, constantly, giving away lunches. Man, it was just really cool.
Very good, very good. And like you sit there and said, martial arts is a different kind of people, and like you said, you got this and you got that kind of people, but it does help you want to come and help your community. Like even though that I do karate, I also go over to an MMA gym, Checker Past MMA here in Springfield, Oregon. And they're always doing road cleanups, helping kids. Matter of fact, they have a thing called Little Ninjas, and to be honest with you, he probably helps get more, with scholarships of getting kids in there than he probably makes, but he wants to sit there and help kids, learn self-defense and things like that. And that's another thing I wanted to ask you. Like my daughter even goes there, but they teach, some other self-defense, but to be honest with you, majority of it's Muay Thai is what they teach, because I really think karate, Muay Thai, throwing a little wrestling, some boxing is probably some of the best self-defense for like real self-defense in my view. But what I wanted to get to was, and sorry for being a little scatterbrained, ADD kicks in and, this kicks in and I start going this way and that because my brain's just in there like a tornado, probably like a hurricane. Josh, I'm going to throw that out there. My brain's like a hurricane.
I teach kids for a living, man. I'm good. I'm used to it. So no worries, man. So go ahead.
So let me go here and see. The thing is too, sometimes I'll cut things out. I won't ever sit there and make anybody look bad or make them say something, make it look like they say something. But if I'm rambling on a little bit, 90% of the time I'll cut that out. Or even my story, sometimes I'll cut that out, like me being heavy and stuff like that. I'll just cut that out. Matter of fact, I'll probably just cut this part out. People will never know. But okay, so 1, 2, 3, let's get there and then we'll go to this part. What about your family? You sit there and say that your wife kind of helps with the gym, right? Is your wife into martial arts? Are you teaching her self-defense? What about the girls? How's that all working?
I have 3 little girls, 8, soon to be 4, and brand new, 3 months. So they'll all know some self-defense. My older 2, dabble in karate, and I would not say they're more dancers. I was just on a podcast yesterday, and they were talking about it. How's it feel? Being the girl. And man, to be honest, I really love it because my girls don't know about they don't know about world championship. They don't know about karate. I mean, my oldest one will tell you I'm the karate combat world champion, but she don't know. She wants to put glitter on my belt. She don't understand. Like it don't make a difference to what happens in fights. And I love that. So being with family, they are removed, but all my girls will definitely know how to defend themselves. They'll know how to choke a man out. They'll know how to pull out an eyeball. They'll be self-defense ready for sure.
Hey,
but
seriously, yesterday I'm gonna bring you up pulling out an eyeball. I was because my daughter rides the bus to school, then every day though I go and pick her up, and since she's in kindergarten, each teacher of the class brings the kids out that are getting picked up, and then they take the other kids to the bus, and me and her teacher was sitting there talking. And she asked me, she goes, are we going to Little Ninjas tonight? And she's been sick. And I'm like, no, we're not going to Little Ninjas. And the teacher goes, well, what's Little Ninjas? I said, well, it's a MMA. I said, but pretty much it's Muay Thai, that she's learning and stuff like that. And she goes, really? And I said, everybody, especially women and kids, should know some self-defense. And she goes, well, that is true. And I looked down at my daughter. Her name's Joelle, but we call her JoJo. I said, JoJo. And she was like spinning around and stuff, hanging on the fence, just doing what a 5-year-old does. And I said, JoJo. And she stops and I said, what do you do if somebody tries to take you? She goes, punch him in the throat. And I said, what do you keep doing? She goes, punch them in the throat. I said, then what? She goes, stick my fingers in their eyes.
Nice,
the teacher's like, yeah.
Well done, Dad.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. and that's the
That's
thing. I tell my kids, because we got older kids too. We got a 20-year-old daughter, we got a 21 and a 22, and then a 26-year-old, and then I have a 6-year-old grandson, and then our nieces and stuff live next door. They all go to Little
yeah,
Ninjas, right? Yeah, and I tell my wife, I said, listen, if you're out there and a bad person wants to take you, I said, you fight literally to the death. I said, and I said, I'm not kidding you. I said, you fight to the death. And she goes, but I would die. I said, yes, but what's the alternative? What do you
yeah,
think that person that's taking you is going to do to you?
yeah.
You
So
know?
yeah, you're right on. When I teach a woman self-defense, and I'll tell stories about mom wrestling a 700-pound bear to save her kids. Daughter lifting truck off kids. And you got power. You got to believe in it. And you got to fight.
Yeah.
Look at and the biggest thing obviously is awareness and prevention and things like this. But man, you got to make your mind up that when it comes right down to it, that power will meet me there, and I'm gonna fight. And when you're saying, "Hey, stop," you saying it, "Hey, stop," because I don't want something bad to happen to you. Not I'm saying stop because I don't want something bad to happen to me. It really is that kind of mindset. Like you gotta have that, and you gotta be ready to do it. And practicing that really does. I think more than anything else, just preparing your mind like that. And God forbid, we don't want it to ever happen, but if it does, preparing yourself and saying, "Hey, all right, it's time to fight." A lot of times that'll make our words more powerful, and I love that. I love even kind of hearing about what your daughter would do, man. That's
Well,
that's
and
good
the thing
stuff.
is, yeah, and the thing is, Josh, it's like this. If you don't know it, when it comes time to when you need it, then
Yeah,
what's going to
exactly.
happen? You
Yep.
know?
Yeah. You definitely you want it as prevention and not the cure. You don't want to have to be. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to have to go through it and not have and be ready for it. And
Yep.
a lot of times as parents too, it's a little uncomfortable. So we think, oh, I just don't want that to happen. So I'm not going to think about that. I'm not going to address it. And we got to address it. We got to confront it. Got to be prepared for it. And then, like you said, once you do it, once you practice, once you're prepared, now you can lose a little bit of the anxiousness, and the fear. I believe almost kind of makes us targets more and more for these types of things happening. So once you confront it, once you practice it, once you're aware of it, once you're ready to deal with it if it does happen, a lot of times that reduces the likelihood that it does happen. And that's what, again, what being powerful, being prepared, being a martial artist does and helps with.
Well, it's just like being ready for a disaster. A disaster can be coming, and guess what? If you have a to-go bag with food, blankets, things to start fires, man, you're way better off. But what if
That's
a
right.
disaster's coming and now you got to start going to look for stuff, and you're trying to, it's going to hurt you in the long run. And
Absolutely.
I'll probably cut this part out, but my wife has worked with sexually and physically abused children for like over 20 something years. And the sad thing is that she works with sexually and physically abused children 6 years and under.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh, our 21-year-old daughter a couple years ago was almost sex trafficked. We was able to
Wow.
stop it. Yeah, we was able to stop it. So learning what my wife does, stuff that, and I've also volunteered there for a long time, and I've also sit there and do research, so I know, and I'm a big statistic person.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand there is really, really, really bad people in the world.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely. Real bad.
People's like most kids that are molested are usually molested by somebody they know.
Mhm.
Very seldom is it ever some guy walking down the street like, oh, I'm going to attack this kid.
Yeah.
It's 99.9% by somebody that they know, a family friend, a family member, something like that. After school thing, like that. after school programs, stuff like that. And then, you hear a lot with sex trafficking and human trafficking. People's like, oh, when you see a zip tie on your car, that's them tracking you and something like that. When all that stuff happened to my daughter, guess what I done? Research. All right.
Yeah.
Statistics, FBI, stuff like that. Once again, very seldom is somebody ever taken by just a stranger. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but very seldom does it ever happen. 99% of the time, it's people they meet online. It's a friend of a friend. Like my daughter, the people groomed her for almost a year and a half where she worked at, and there was like a team of people that was working on this. They're working on many people at the same time, but and it's really disturbing. And the thing is she finally came out and told us, she's like, hey, this person, I was getting ready to leave in the middle of the night. He was going to pick her up, and then something just in her head, really scared her. She was like 19 at the time. She comes downstairs and she tells us, and we're like, yeah, it's not going to happen. You're not going, blah, blah, blah. And she tells us, my wife is very good about helping people in trauma and things like that. And of course, a dad is, I want to go find that guy. But the thing was they wanted to take her over to Bend, Oregon, and on Valentine's Day. And this was like a week before, or something like that, maybe a few days before, I can't remember. And of course we stopped it. But the thing is when Valentine's Day happened, on the news over in Bend, Oregon, at a hotel, a group of human traffickers was busted.
Oh,
so guess where my daughter was going, and guess what could have happened?
Man, that is crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, trust me, when it comes to self-defense, I sit there and tell my daughters, and I will definitely cut all this out, be as violent as you possibly can. Right. I said, if somebody's trying to, it's different if somebody's just wants to fight you, but if somebody's trying to take you, you 100% be as violent as you can. And I said, I will 100% stick up for you in court.
That's right. Yeah. Like, hey, I told her to do that. Yeah. I told her to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I tell them, I said, some of them carry mace, my daughter and wife carries mace. I said, keep a pencil. Keep a pencil in your thing, So, Josh, now we're gonna. Okay, give me 1, 2, 3. All right, Josh. We've pretty went through why and how you got into martial arts, and I think it's an awesome story. And I would love to have you back on here again, and so we can even talk more. But let's get into question number 2. The first question usually takes up the most time. The second question is very, very not nowhere near, and then the third question is probably just like 2 or 3 seconds. And I'm not trying to bore everybody out there. But what is martial arts doing in your life now? You're in karate combat. I know that. I love karate combat ever since it came out. Tell people what martial arts is doing in your life now, like professionally, and where you're at professionally with your career.
Man, and to be honest, it's everything about my career. I run a gym, so you're not gonna compete in full contact for long. So even in the retirement plan, it's kind of going through. So it's my business. Teaching it, learning it, I'm growing in it. It's everything. And then karate combat. So I'm the current welterweight champion. And to be honest, it's been probably one of the coolest experiences in my life. I've got to fight on top of the World Trade Center. We broke a Guinness Book World Record. I got to go to Budapest, Hungary. I got to fight at Universal Studios in Orlando. Yep. It's some of the coolest experiences, and I get to do what I love. I've got to meet some of the coolest people. So, man, to be honest, like I said, right now, martial arts it's been my life, but right now it's almost like a lot of the work is kind of paying off. This is kind of one of those times where in my life where I get to reap a lot of the benefits of martial arts. A lot of times it's about pouring in, and of course there's still that going on. You're not fighting or doing well if you're not putting in the work. But for the most part now, this has been a really blessed season for me in terms of martial arts and what has given back to me. Adventures, my gym, my life, everything. I have a little community of young MMA fighters. We do a Bible study. A lot of, man, it's just impacting mind, body, and spirit all the way through. Man, martial arts is pretty huge in all aspects of life now, and always has been. But I would say this has been a pretty rewarding season for martial arts the last few years.
Now, how many fights have you had with Karate Combat?
So I am 6-2. So
good.
8. Yeah.
When's your next fight?
So looks like maybe beginning of next year. Potentially just gonna fight December, but it's still kind of recovering from some injuries from the last camp into my fight. So heal up and then get back, look like around January, February, whenever the first show is in the new year, I'd bet.
Good. So, like I said, the second question really isn't that long. That pretty much just sums up what martial arts is doing in your life now. But now the third question, what is your plans for martial arts in the future?
At this point, I still have a few more fights that I want. I got two goats, martial art goats, IGF, Raymond Daniels in my division. So got some exciting fights in the future, I believe. And then probably the competition side of it might, or at least the full contact competition side of it might be put away for a while or forever. And then it's really about, I got a big team, a big MMA team, full contact. I got some up and comer potential karate combat guys. So then it's going to be about pouring into other people and trying to share the knowledge, grow the knowledge always continually, but then sharing it and taking a couple of my ninjas to world champions, high level world championships too. That's what I want to do now. Getting close to that flip. I'll always be a competitive guy. I'm always going to try to be the best of the world at something somewhere. But I think next phase is probably coach.
Good. I really think it's a really good idea for you, because it sounds like that's something that you love, and it sounds like something you want to keep on doing. And that's kind of a way to stay in, that kind of sport thing, is to help people. And that's what martial arts is really all about.
Right
Josh, before I let you go, I want to sit there and say 100% it was a pleasure having you on here.